So going into the mechanism of action, it's very simple. Some acne and androgenetic alopecia have something in common. They are influenced by DHT. Unlike finasteride and dutasteride that reduce the 5-alpha-reductase enzymatic activity in the skin and hair follicle tissues, and thereby reducing the production of DHT, and thus DHT androgen receptor signaling, CB0301 Clascoterone is a steroidal anti-androgen that aims to bind to the androgen receptor and prevent DHT signaling. And in doing so, less signaling means less messaging to the cells. Now, if these cells are sebocytes, and they have some sort of genetic defect with them that cause for there to be excess oil production, oils rich in triglycerides and cholesterol, which contribute to acne pathogenesis. So again, if these cells are sebocytes and they're in the sebaceous glands, there is going to be less oil output if the clascoterone or whatever anti-androgen can bind to the androgen receptor and block the DHT. And therefore, in the case of acne, you're going to have a reduction in acne outbreaks. So translating this over to hair loss and the cells that are relevant, if we have an anti-androgen that can bind to dermal papilla cells, this means less signaling to the cells that have the genetics for androgenetic alopecia and potentially a slowdown, halt, or even reversal in hair loss. Now, in both cell types, the androgen receptor, when it comes in contact with DHT, will determine how often proteins are created that either create more oil, in the case of acne, or proteins that encourage for the hair follicle to stop growing, and surely miniaturize over time. This can be proteins like TGF-beta, DKK1, even some cytokines like interleukin-6. So, CB0301 Clascoterone, also known as Breezula, works by androgen receptor blockade. With that being the case, it should be noted that there are other molecules that do something similar, and some of them are non-steroidal in nature. Take KX826 pyrolutamide by Kintor Pharmaceuticals, for example, and RU58841, also known as PSK3841, formerly discovered and made by Urusal Lucraf, the French pharmaceutical company, and those rights were handed off to Prostrakan, and ultimately a Japanese company known as Kwxsoc purchased those rights, and they were the final intellectual property holders before the patent expired. Now, with RE58841, it has less data than KX826 and even CB0301, but from what we can see in public records, it may have had some success and some sort of efficacy in phase 2, showing some decent results at slowing down hair loss, giving some sort of minor regrowth benefit. However, we do not have much long-term robust safety data regarding this particular molecule. On the other hand, KX826 pyrolutamide went through many tests with a high reliability when it comes to safety data, with minimal systemic exposure, and a slight positive sign in terms of efficacy. Although Kintor did have that initial phase 3 for KX826 that showed that it was statistically insignificant compared to placebo, it should be noted, and I've reiterated this so many times, this is likely due to the fact that the study took place during the COVID-19 pandemic, where many people in the study were not consistent with their topical use in both placebo and treatment groups. However, subsequent studies since then showed better results for the 0.5% concentration, as well as, and with more data emerging on this, the 1% concentration. So it's up in the air, but from what we know, there is some validity from this particular mechanism of action working. So we have a positive signal in the literature showing that blocking the androgen receptor in the scalp may lead to hair growth and/or a sort of hair loss stability. Hell, even topical spironolactone shows some positive aspects in this regard as well. But spironolactone is not a non-steroidal anti-androgen. It is a steroidal mineral low corticoid.